Michelle. So next up we've got Michelle Coss, who's one of the co-founders of, I always pronounce this wrong, Plogolution, and you're going to tell us much more about what it is to mean to go plogging.
Go for my slides as well.
You want to do slides yourself?
Yes, is that okay? So I've definitely got the hard sell at the end of the day, talking to you about litter picking just as it's time to go home. About 2 years ago, if I thought about someone who was litter picking, I'd have thought probably about a solitary individual in a high-vis vest on the side of the road of a litter picker, or maybe like a group of surly youths on community service, using litter picking as a punishment. And it wasn't until myself and my good friend Dermot, who we went for a little bit of a run down by the Thames, and we realised quite how much rubbish was littering our paths and our waterways and our beautiful green spaces. And then we came across something called plogging. Has anyone heard of plogging before? Quick show of hands. That's great, brilliant, good start. So plogging, for those who don't know, comes from the Swedish words plocka up and the og bit of jog, to make plogging. So plocka up is to pick up, the og bit of jogging. So Dermot and I, in our infinite wisdom, thought, why don't we hold a quick plog down in July in 2018 in Putney. We managed to get 16 people along, and between us, over a 5k run and a 2k walk, we picked up over 30 bags of rubbish. And what started at being just a one-off quickly turned into a bit of a business. And before we know it, we've held now, since July 2018, over 60 large-scale community plogs across the UK. So we hold regular plogs in Wandsworth, Ealing and Hounslow. We also have teams up north in Ashton-under-Lyne and in Harrogate. And our sort of plan is to bring together people to make a massive impact in local communities. So we bring together very diverse groups. We bring together people from a year and a half right up to 85. If they can hold a litter picker and put on a pair of gloves, they're good to go. And the amount of rubbish and the amount of litter we pick up has really been absolutely astounding. We've engaged now thousands of volunteers across London and beyond. And then it was Dermot's idea to then take this concept. We know that this is just a drop in the ocean of the amount that we've picked up. But what we wanted to try and do is educate. So we took this concept into schools. So we go into schools and we start with an assembly with the children, and we teach them about sustainability, about the global impact of littering, and then sort of bring that to something they can do themselves. Something they can do to feel empowered and to make a difference in their local area. And you can see down here, this is only 20 minutes worth of running and picking up rubbish, or walking and picking up rubbish. And that's a huge amount. In one session, they found 32 mini Courvoisier bottles just off the A3. Yeah, and I won't go into all the bits and pieces we've picked up. Needless to say, there have been some interesting finds. But yeah, talk to me afterwards and I'll tell you about the more adult versions we've found. This has got to be one of my favourite quotes, and this was a couple of weeks ago, a little girl, and this really got to me. This is why we do what we do. And this is a little bit of stats for you. This is now 32 schools. We started in October 2018, and this is probably about 250 school plogs, 25-minute school plogs. And that's an impact across London and beyond. And you can see the huge amount of cigarette butts that have been taken off the streets. So poor Dermot, whenever he hears coming out of my mouth, I've had another idea, he sort of shudders a little bit. And if he was stood beside me now, he'd be shuddering. Last year, I came up with the idea of plogging the entire length of the Thames, which, for those of you who don't know, that's 184 miles from the source in Kemble to the Thames barrier. And we did that in 6 days. So you were looking at day 1 being 29 miles, day 2 being 42 miles, and so on and so on. So we were looking at sort of 12-hour days on our feet, running and picking up rubbish. You can just see in the far picture, that's Dermot there with the rucksack on his back, and this hero pretty much carried every single piece of rubbish I'm going to show you on the next slide throughout the time. And we had a van that sort of picked up all of our rubbish and followed us around. And then you can see, this is at the Thames barrier. Anyone work at the Thames barrier here? I'm allowed to show the picture. When we took the pictures, we were told we weren't allowed to be there, so we took this very, very quickly. But you can see here we've got 489 glass bottles, 931 cans, 1,107 plastic bottles, as well as 44 bags of landfill that we picked up, and 627 of those nitrate oxide silver canisters that we found in a little inlet right by the O2, so someone had had quite the party. And then Dermot heard again earlier this year, I've had another idea. Again, he shuddered. So this year, we're planning on running 24 hours worth of plogging, starting on the 30th of May at 6 a.m. at Putney Bridge, heading all the way down to the River Brent, up towards the Grand Union Canal, and back down into London and down the Thames. So again, we're going to have a van following us, and we'll see how much we can pick up over 24 hours. And our aim is to try and raise awareness as much as we possibly can for the global impact. This is myself and Dermot here. I think today one of the big themes has been what if? And for us, what if we could turn that 32 schools into 3,000 schools, into 30,000 schools? Imagine the impact on local communities if we could do that. If we have plogs happening all around the country, that's our dream, that's our aim, and it's to keep educating and it's to keep people excited and make maybe litter picking a little bit more fashionable. Thank you.